Coming up on the Mania Podcast.
We're going to go a lot of different ways.
Yes.
Right?
This
show isn't just going to be all about us annoying each other.
Or just mental health. It's not going to be about all of that.
We talked about quality time and one of the things we do. And for the show, we thought, it'd be fun. Sit down and watch a whole bunch of stuff about the Menendez trial.
Yes.
And, I'll let you take it from here.
Because it's coming back.
So basically, if you just look at the facts, okay, facts are simple. 2 kids kill their parents, throw the book at them, jail for life, right?
Yeah.
So why was that controversial? Like, what is it with do you think people that go to jail and they're there for long periods of time actually go a little gay?
Yeah. Falling
in love or becoming married to serial killers or people in jail?
Yeah.
What's that about?
There's a fetish. He said you're ready. He said he was ready.
So we're ready.
Do you
ready
want to keep
means
asking?
ready. They're going to end up using this as the intro, right? Because they always do.
Yeah, you're like, hey, Christian, are you ready? He's like, rolling.
Okay.
Hey, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We got Mania Podcast episode numero 5. We've been having a lot of fun with it. I've been jumping into premieres, which happen at noon. Little before your wake up time.
The bottom.
Yeah, she got into the chat right at the end. A lot of people had questions for you. We had some more unsolicited advice. Someone said to just don't drink alcohol or eat sugar, and your endo pain will go away forever.
Well, one down.
That's simple. Yeah, one down. Yeah, good luck with the sugar. You love sugar.
Breaking out of alcohol didn't help pain at all.
No,
just made me bored.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah. So we sort of touched on this on previous shows, kind of like the idea that we're going to go a lot of different ways.
Yes.
Right?
This
show isn't just going to be all about us annoying each other.
Right.
We're talking about those things.
Or just mental health. It's not going to be about all of that. It's just going to be, we'll give updates on those things.
Yeah.
But
we're going to get into some stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? We talked a little bit about shows last time, and we're going to get into, what are you eating there, buddy?
It's okay.
A wire?
Just let him eat.
He's trying to bite a wire. Apollo, that's not food. Come here. Hey, what'd I do? Okay. So anyway, before we get into it, though, I wanted to say I went to the barber today, as you can tell. Or yesterday.
Looking fresh?
Yeah. Went over to the barber league at the mall.
Yeah.
Okay. This guy, Matthew, he's on Hendon Mob. He showed me. He's like, he loves to play. This is the guy that I told you about the other day, wants me to take him to Bahamas and play
He's probably listening to this.
Yeah, whatever. What's up, Matthew? How you doing?
Okay.
So anyway, I just found this to be so bizarre. And I haven't even told you what this was. I told you it's going to be about a barber story. You don't even know what I'm going to bring up.
Right.
You'll probably figure it out quick. So I have a 4 p.m. appointment. I show up. We're there. We're going. We're about halfway through. He's got one other barber working on somebody, right? And this guy comes in with this kid. I don't know, probably like an 8-9-year-old kid. And he's like, you got anybody? He's like, yeah, it's just, we'll be right with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, well, you don't have another guy or whatever. So now I can't stop thinking I'm in my head about he's taking his time. And he's telling me a poker hand and poker story. And while he's doing it, I'm looking over at the dad going, oh my God, I feel responsible for this.
But then he's going slow?
I hate making people wait.
I know.
It's like I got so incredibly anxious
laughing at you.
Watching the dad. And then the dad was, because he does the thing with my beard, he's doing the spray. And I look over at the guy and he's like rolling his eyes. And I don't know if it's not me. It's like, I almost wanted, so I basically wanted to rush him. Like he's cutting and I'm like, no, it's good. It's good. But that's a weird thing. I think that comes from when I was raised, you want to be a good host.
Were you rushed a lot?
What do you mean? No, I wasn't rushed. It's just my parents always wanted to make everybody else happy. Hey, eat food, drink wine, have the stuff, right? So me holding this guy up, which is I'm probably, a lot of people would think it's the opposite. I'm not prima donna with that at all.
No, you're very impatient for your stuff too, though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
If I was waiting for that. If I was the dad with my kid and this guy is telling me about this flop that came King 7-4. And I'm speaking to you, buddy Matthew, if you are listening, little poker stuff, he tells me these poker hands, but the flop changes as he goes.
Throughout the hand?
Yeah. He just, I'm like, bro, you want to take this seriously? Write these fucking things down, So anyway, do you ever experience that? Where you're just no?
No, because I would rather them take their time and get my shit right.
But you don't feel bad about the people waiting with their kid?
Why?
I don't know.
They'll be fine. You would rather him not rush and fuck up your hair.
Yeah, but that's probably why, because you're so vain that you want to make sure your hair is right.
Yeah.
I'll just go out with a bald spot and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's fine, whatever,
I'm
man.
fix that.
Yeah.
Redo that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, because I'm like, damn, bro, that's business. There's a new customer maybe.
Yeah.
Like, because I want him to do good. I'm like,
Well,
bro, you got to fucking hurry this up so you can get on that.
He knows you tip well.
I do tip well. But you know what? He tried not to take the tip.
What?
He tried not to get paid. He's like, I don't want it. He's like, I want to be your friend, right? Because he wants me to mentor him and to teach him how to play poker, right?
So much time.
He's not
you
even
have.
kidding. And like, he showed me he won a tournament at the Orleans for $2,700.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Hop, step, and a jump to
Come on in.
Yeah, to the 100Ks. Right. Anyway, I just wanted to tell that story before we get into the meaty subject, which I'm going to let you take the lead because I know this is your jam. But we talked a little bit about.
This is a lot of people's jams, by the way.
We talked about quality time and one of the things we do. And for the show, we thought, it'd be fun is to sit down and watch a whole bunch of stuff about the Menendez trial.
Yes.
And, I'll let you take it from here.
Because it's coming back. The Menendez trial. Okay, so if people don't know who they are two brothers from Beverly Hills. They were 18 and 21, I think, when they killed their parents. And people thought they did it for money, right? But all this stuff came out in court that their dad was molesting them. And it was horrible to watch, wasn't it? Like just the stories and how it came out and like so detailed.
Yeah. Before you even get into that part, I remember like just from watching, because we watched Monsters, which was a Netflix,
that's the Netflix special
dramatized show. And then we watched the Menendez brothers, which was a documentary with the actual guys many years later.
Right.
But one of the things that he mentioned in the documentary later was like, the cops did such a shitty fucking job.
Well, yeah, because it's Beverly Hills.
Because they tried to pretend they didn't do it.
Well,
and they would have got away with it.
I think the cops in Beverly Hills, not a lot of murdering. So they don't like check everything.
But
perfectly.
The first thing you have to do is you see the kids there. It's always a freaking family relative. Yeah. The mother's dead, the father's dead. So which other family members are there, right? You're supposed to check their hands for gun residue. If they would have done that, they would have got caught right then. They even said, he's like, we should have got arrested that night.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's rich kids in a rich area. They were dressed nicely. They were crying. They seemed like, oh my God, someone came in and shot my parents. And the 911 call seemed very sincere.
He was proud of that.
He was good.
Yeah, the guy Lyle. Mm-hmm. So there's Lyle and Eric. Lyle is a little bit more of like the Phil Hellmuth. I don't know.
He's boisterous. He has like I guess he's very secure with himself.
Yeah. He's one he would brag about how good he could like fool the jury and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And be an actor.
But also you gotta know they were kids. And like he always wanted to sound cool. Right? No matter what, he wanted to sound cool to girls. Oh, watch me up there. I can cry. Yeah. Those sort of things, right?
What made me about him, which made me laugh so much, is you. We're watching the thing and he's very vain, right? Which he can relate to. You can. It's fine. But he was like in jail, right? And he was telling them what he needs.
The lawyer.
And he's like, lawyer, I need Bain de Soleil. Like, what the fuck is Bain de Soleil? Bain de Soleil is self-tanner.
Okay, and this was...
he had a toupee and he needed the glue.
Top stick.
And you felt bad for him.
Okay, listen.
This is before we know... I don't even know that this guy is like innocent or... She's fucking feeling bad for this murderer just killed his parents because he can't get self-tanner and fucking hair stick.
First of all, I already knew the story. You didn't.
Right.
For some reason, I don't know where you were
in 1990. I knew
the
story, but I didn't know like...
In 1990, everybody knew the story because it was happening at the same time as OJ. Anyway, Bain de Soleil.
Yeah.
He wanted self-tanner and he was so upset because he said they needed to look good in the courtroom, which I think he's kind of right, so that people feel for them. The better you look, the truth. If people who look rich and they dress them in sweaters and they do all this
depends on the jury. If you have jury people that resent rich people, they're going to look at these snotty punk kids. Because I saw that when I watched the shows. A lot of like people turned on them, and they're like, these little rich, arrogant.
Percentages are.
Okay. Generally speaking, if you present well.
Yes. Just like when you walk into a hospital and you have a suit on, they take your pain more seriously than if you come in and like you are dirty.
Okay. So lead me into so let's go back to the very beginning of what happens, right? So,
Lyle and Eric are apparently they're being molested.
Well, let's start with just like what they did first and we'll go back.
Or killed the parents?
Right. Because like how they did it and all that.
Okay. Well, that's what I was going to say why, but I guess we'll go into why later.
Let's talk about first what they did and then go into
so Eric watched a movie called Billionaire Boys Club. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, but it was about kids who killed their parents. And he was kind of obsessed with it. And he got Lyle in on this plan. They thought they were for sure that their parents were going to kill them. Right? They had that in their head.
Or at least that's what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're telling me to go to the beginning. They thought their parents were going to kill them. So they came up with a plan to kill their parents. And from what I understand, is they never, even from the beginning, said anything about money.
There was
They spent money.
in the
I'm saying,
documentary, they talked about how their dad said,
You're out of the will.
You're out of the will.
You're out
right?
of the will.
So then some people might say, okay, well, maybe they killed him before he could do that or something like that.
Yeah.
But then the no money thing, after they barge into their house and shoot him in the face.
They spent $700,000
They
in a
went
week
insane.
or two.
They went on Rodeo Drive and bought every Rolex and new cars.
Yeah.
And like, then you start to think, you're like, okay, this is before people knew that, they did it.
Yeah.
You start to wonder, you're like, all right, well, these kids don't seem to be mourning.
No, they looked bad.
And like, what is that? I mean, so is there any...
He said they were trying to buy their feelings away.
Is there any argument to the idea that they sort of tried to claim that they were trying to like buy through their feelings or just deal with it by buying?
Yeah.
Do you think that's real?
Probably not.
No, because I don't imagine that would
Probably
be
not.
what you would want to do.
I think if it were me, I'm going to sound crazy. I would start buying a bunch of shit because I'm so angry at them. Like, even though I just killed them, I'm so angry about what they've done to me my whole life. Fuck them.
Okay, so let's get into that then. So obviously, the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric, they did shoot their parents. That comes out that it was these two.
Eric goes to a therapist named Dr. Ozeal.
Oh yeah, get to that part. Yeah,
goes to a therapist. He couldn't.
This was stupid.
Yeah. So Eric's the younger one. He's kind of sensitive. He goes in to this therapist that they had gone to before because he says he feels like he couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't hold in the truth, and it had only been like a week, right? And he goes into this doctor and he tells him, I did it. I killed my parents. And he was thinking, doctor-patient confidentiality. He has to keep my secret. That's not true.
But then,
for that,
then he tells him, he says, bring your brother here.
Yeah.
And his brother is like, Lyle, like, what are you doing? Why would you do this? He goes
nuts.
Then this is the part that gets me. This is where it just shows me how stupid these kids are.
They're kids.
Somehow this therapist convinces them to record the whole thing. Like, imagine how ridiculously stupid you'd have to be to like murder your parents and then think that like you should just record yourself talking about it. Like, they made so many dumb mistakes, which again speaks to their age, right?
Yep.
But so basically, if you just look at the facts, that okay, facts are simple. 2 kids kill their parents, throw the book at them, jail for life, right?
Yeah.
So why was that controversial?
Well, I guess a lot of people didn't feel bad for them because they were rich, spoiled kids and they thought it was for money. That was the major thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you looked at the jury, half men, half women, you saw what happened there. All the men said, no, put them in jail, kill them, basically. And all the women had a pause and they were like, we can't do it because they believed them.
Believe what, though? Explain.
They believed that they were raped by their father.
Right. But like the whole thing that they talk about. Like,
you want me to go? I'm not going to go into detail.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, explain like what he described, right?
Yeah.
So,
okay. So on the stand, Lyle or Eric, either one, doesn't
both.
matter. Lyle did a good job on the stand.
And he
seemed
proud
very emotional.
Yeah.
No, he said that when they were little, when he was 5 years old, his dad started massaging him after tennis practice. And they didn't know that they're 5 years old. So what, right? They didn't know that was weird. Their dad took showers with them and they didn't think that was weird. They were little. And then he started touching them down there and making them do it to him. And they all the way up until...
Well, toothbrush.
Yeah.
Toothbrush.
I don't know how much you want to say about that.
It's not like it's some private information. It's public
it's everywhere. It's all over.
Well, we're not spilling the beans on them. Like,
no, it just feels
But it's
gross.
funny you say that because part of the documentary shows, or even them say, they were like, this was their defense basically, right?
Mm.
That we were molested. Lyle, like, didn't even want to say that because he was embarrassed. He didn't want to, this is where it gets freaky. He didn't want to ruin his parents' name.
Or the legacy of their name.
Their legacy of their name. They talked about shooting their mom because they wanted to
put her out of her misery.
Right. But she's like, and then you wonder, you're like, well, that's fucked up that they killed the mother, right?
Not really.
Until you find out that she knew what was going on.
She knew. That happens a lot of times.
Yeah. And it went a step further with, so this is actually a thing that you notice, and it shows it in a documentary with even the father, Jose, that when Lyle was molested by his dad, when his brother Eric is 6 years old, he does the toothbrush and the same thing to him.
Says getting their bodies ready.
Yeah. But he did it to his brother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were going to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then like you see the clip of the dad talking about his mom playing with his dick, getting him erect and laughing at him and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, I had
the molest usually.
I know.
It's a thing.
I had a friend who had 2 twin brothers. And they were the sweetest, nicest kids you've ever seen. Like very polite, well-mannered or whatever. And their dad did stuff I knew him.
Yeah.
And they did it to them too. And they, at age 14, 15, started doing it to kids.
See, that's so terrible, right? To think about. But even though, like you're saying, those people were very sweet and normal in life, and then they still did that. Because at home, that's what was normal for them.
Yeah.
They didn't think that was abnormal.
Yeah.
So what happened with Lyle is what did he say? He was like 7 or 8 when he started playing with his brother in the woods and doing those things to him that Jose was doing. And they thought that was okay. And he apologized for it on the stand. He was crying. He looks at him and he said that's the first.
Because they have a good relationship.
They love each other. I mean, awkwardly. So like they took showers together and shit. Because
they learned weird shit from their dad.
Yeah. But he said, Lyle looks at Eric on the stand and he says, I'm really sorry. And he's crying. And Eric said it was the first time ever he'd ever said he was sorry to him for doing that to him. And this is them talking when they're in their 50s.
Yeah.
Right? So they go in. It was a mistrial because the women wouldn't do it.
Right. So basically, they tell their story. The women are like, they have a heart.
They have a heart.
Which begs the question, I guess, which I was going to ask, and we can continue on that line, is like, if your parents do that to you, does it justify? Because like, here's the thing. The trial isn't a question of, did they do it? We already know that.
They admitted it.
Right.
We know they did it.
So the first trial is the question of life in prison for first-degree murder or manslaughter, which is
Oh, they were going to put him to death at first, remember?
Yeah, so death, life in jail, whatever, versus manslaughter, right? So the women, as you said, had empathy for these kids. And they said no. And the men are like, hell no.
Right. The women are saying boys can be raped too. We believe them. And the men were like a teenage boy can't be raped. He can run away. Because Eric was being raped all the way up till 3 or 4 months before they killed their parents. And he was 18 years old. And Jose was still doing that to him. So let me ask you first. Do you think it's okay for them to kill their parents after being raped their whole lives?
So that's a good question, right? Like, is it okay, right? You shouldn't, like, murder is never
okay.
Well, there's obviously, I think, like
self-defense.
Like if somebody's trying to kill you and you kill them, totally justified, right? So the question is, they perceived that they were going to be killed. This is the part of the story where I don't know if I buy that much. If they genuinely believed that they were going to be killed.
Who knows?
Right. I don't know. Right. But I guess so you can understand it. Right. And you can in your mind say like, they deserve it. Right. From a legal perspective, like, should you be able to say like, hey,
yeah, not legally. I'm saying you. What do you think?
Obviously from a like vigilante gangster mob loving kind of place that I am, like, fuck those two.
Right.
Fuck the dad. Kill them. Right?
Yeah. Because the mom actually ended up saying she knew.
Yeah. And it's funny because Lyle actually says later in one of the letters to his brother something that like he would have been proud of us.
The dad.
He says that like he sort of has this, the dad, they going down this rabbit hole where he like loves Spartacus.
He loves the Greeks and the Spartans and like
Spartans.
And he says it makes you a man to be with other men.
Right.
And it toughens you up.
Which is like that stupid clip you shared with me today.
I know. I was going to say it, but I knew you hated it.
It was so dumb. That guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
we can talk about that later if you want, because it's fucking hilarious.
He loves that.
Tom Segura had this guy on, this freaky guy who thinks he's like, he has a girlfriend, but he thinks that if he's like all about the Spartans, and if you like lick other
the sweat off the guy's balls,
that you become more manly
and more attractive to women.
Yeah, and like you want to bang your wife more if you are with men. But not like sex. I think it's just.
And he does Instagram videos where he just like
talks about this,
and he uses goofy words. Like he always goes extra.
It's gross.
Should we play a clip of that?
We should play a clip of it.
Okay, let's play a clip of
His name is Will Blunderfield.
God, it's too much. Don't play too long because I can't.
Play it all. I think it's hilarious, but it's disgusting. Daniel hates every time I show it to you. You go, ugh.
One of the kindest things you can do for your bro who has a smaller hummus cannon and a smaller shed of dragon pearls than you is allow him to suck your hummus cannon to receive the extra good testosterone and spermidine, nerve growth factor, oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine from your concoction of divine masculine juju into his system. There's such a hierarchy and pecking order of men in our society that needs to be demolished. And we do that by sharing the wealth, sharing the hormonal prowess, not squandering it for ourselves and just our girlfriends. We need to be sharing it with our bros, guys. Come on, it's the Aquarian age. It's a circle of men, not a pecking order hierarchy anymore. There's too much competition between men and far too much comparison on the back of that. So when you suck your bro's hummus cannon without going into gay panic and shame, what you're doing is you are de-armoring. You're dropping gay, you're dropping straight, and even bisexual, and just stepping into more masculinity together.
Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, gross, right? Let's get back to the Menendez
So Jose
brothers.
had that mindset, but not as goofy and stupid as this guy. Jose had the mindset of
With his kids, though.
with his kids. He even put like a crown on his head. Remember, toughen you up and like rape, like in hurt, like the rough sex toughens a man up. But he also
Oh,
said,
right, because he talked about the
but
kids.
don't be gay.
They talked about on the stand. This was sad because they sounded like little boys.
They were.
They talked about nice sex and rough, and then he talked about mouth massage.
Mouth
My
massages.
dad
What they
said, "I
call
would
it.
do mouth massages on my dad."
Yeah,
Like, oh.
and then they called one knees. Like it's so sad. The whole thing is so sad. I say fuck them.
Yeah. But then when you watch, right, and you get to learn more about these two kids, they become quite unlikable to like the main.
For an
mainstream.
extent, on Monsters they do.
Yeah,
On
well,
like
yeah,
the
because
dramatized
part
one.
of the stuff is true. Like one of the things he did, Lyle, I don't understand how stupid they are. After getting recorded by the therapist guy
And he's in prison.
and in prison, now he's in prison talking to some woman, telling her how he's
How cool he is.
Oh my God,
That was so
I can
cool.
cry on command. I can woo a jury,
Yeah.
all this sort of thing. And she makes a book using it, right?
Yeah.
Which screwed them because
Big time.
now he couldn't testify,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
Because what happened was
Because they
like you
got a
said,
second trial.
I think, it was a hung jury or whatever.
A hung jury, so they got a
so
second
they do
trial.
a second trial with no TV.
Yep.
They couldn't bring into evidence. a
But
whole
what
bunch of
did the
stuff.
judge do to them?
Huh?
The judge, what he did to them was sick. No sexual abuse claims could come out. Nothing. It was all about, did they
Oh,
kill
yeah.
their parents? And they're like, well, we know we killed our parents. We already said that. They could not talk about them being touched at all or anything.
So yeah, so it went from a hung jury
So you
to
know they're
literally
just done.
unanimous. Like literally everyone was like, yeah.
Did they
yeah.
kill their parents? Yes. We
Because
said
if you-
we did.
Exactly. Well, then that's it. Open shut case. And they also, for that one, from what I understand, the second trial, this is what really gets me. Is like it was either life in prison or free. Like that's the only options. If you
Well-
only give those two options, how can you go with free? Because here's the thing. These kids are twisted. Like clearly. Like I get it. You know,
They're
like
fucked.
I
Yeah.
know a lot of it's not their fault. But
I
like,
don't think they would offend again. That's not what I would think.
back then at that age, would I have felt comfortable with these two who just killed their parents if the only options was completely free, no punishment, or life in jail? I'm like,
Well,
sorry,
if I
kids.
knew all the stuff that happened, then I think differently than you.
But I'm just saying, do you think that those two could be like, would you think people would feel safe living in a neighborhood with those two?
I would.
I'm
I
just
would.
saying, okay, you maybe, but like most people.
Think about
Oh.
what happened to them.
But the way that they did it too, that was like,
yeah.
they took shotguns. Like,
And shot
which
them right in the
messiest,
face.
and they talked about buckshot versus birdshot.
Yeah.
Buckshot. They wanted the one that causes the maximum
Because
amount of
that's what they
damage.
told them. The woman at the store told them. Birdshot it's not quick. It doesn't kill fast. Buckshot will kill you
Yeah.
quicker.
They just massacre them. Like, I mean, I just think like, so here's the thing. I guess the question then is like this. I just saw it on News Nation this morning and whatever. They're talking about the DA and like somehow through TikTok or young people
I was
have
getting
been,
there, yep.
have like looked into this case. And now like they're talking about
One more thing before we
re-examining it.
move
Yeah,
there
go for it.
is that during the second trial, that judge hated them, by the way. He wanted to make an example because OJ was going on at the same time.
Mhm.
OJ had just gotten off and everyone thought he was guilty. Everyone in the world thought OJ was guilty, right? But they let
But
him.
was he?
But was he? But they let him off. So they're like, we have to make an example of these boys. We're not letting everybody off for murder.
Right.
So
So yeah, a lot of the trial too, like, because basically what happened was like after their trial was front page news. This is a time in the world where
They
there
were
was a
the-
news
yeah.
story. Everybody was.
this
like,
was
paying
the first
attention to it.
reality trial.
Yeah, it was because on court TV and all that,
Yeah.
right? So they were the big story, right?
Mhm.
Now for their second trial or whatever, by that time OJ was front and center.
Yep.
So they were kind of an afterthought,
Right.
like left to not being televised, whatever.
Yeah.
And like you said, with OJ getting off,
hmm
it made made them look bad.
If the glove don't fit,
Acquit.
can't acquit. Wait, acquit.
No,
Acquit.
love don't fit. Acquit.
Quit.
And what was the one that the Menendez was trying to come
He
up with?
wanted to. Lyle had one going. If you were abused, you can't be accused.
Yeah. If you're abused, you must be accused or something.
No, if you weren't. Wait, yeah, I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he was funny though. I'm sorry. I think Lyle was funny, guys.
Well,
sorry.
the character.
The character.
Okay, 'cause
yeah.
We watched the
not like the real people. I just mean the character on Monsters.
Yeah, because
He
he's
had
got
some
that
funny
kind
shit.
of character that you kind of always like, which is the people that are
He like zings a lot.
narcissistic
Zing.
and the narcissistic, like
Yeah.
crazy. That's what you always love authentic people. We talk about this a lot on the show.
Yeah.
And like when people are narcissistic like that, there's something funny about it.
It is. Like even at the movie theater, the woman was hurt, like being slow, and he goes, "Take your time." Like he's just always had something about him that made me laugh.
Yeah.
And the character was hot.
He was. I'll give you
Eric
that.
Chavez. What?
He did. He looked like he worked out once or twice.
Yeah,
in
and
his
he
life.
doesn't look like the real Lyle.
No, not quite.
No,
right?
they did really good.
Well,
with
the real
characters.
Lyle, and part of the thing is like he didn't have no hair, but he was wearing that toupee.
Oh, wait, let's talk about that for a second. So the reason he started losing his hair, though, he started losing his hair at 15 years old
Oh,
because of stress from his father.
yeah.
And he started coming out in the shower.
Yeah.
Remember? He had gotten kicked out of Princeton for plagiarism. The kids were bad, okay? The kids got in trouble a lot. They did burglaries. He got kicked out of Princeton for cheating. Like they did bad things because I think they were acting out because they hated their father.
I'll tell you what, because like I said, I didn't remember it quite as vividly or whatever.
Yeah.
As I'm watching it, there are points where, in the show, the dramatized show, I'm like, I don't know, is it even true? Because you see some evidence, like from the other guy, the journalist who had his daughter from Poltergeist murdered. So he was like painting a case where it's all bullshit.
He
right?
kind of came around.
Yeah, he did. But I'm just saying, like, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking like, what if they just made the whole thing up? Because they sort of talk about that, right? What does he do? Lyle does so much dumb stuff. He tries to get friends of his and cousins and family to like say that their dad did stuff.
Yeah,
because
he wants to hurry it along and get out.
Yeah, and he's on. But here's the thing: he's on tape saying that. So he's literally on tape saying, "Let's lie and say that you were molested or whatever." So doesn't that like
he said,
completely destroy the credibility?
Say Dad tried to touch you once or something.
Yeah. But that doesn't that, from a jury's perspective, completely destroy the credibility of what he says?
Yeah.
Like he says, "Oh, he touched me." It's like you said you were trying to say that he did.
Yeah, but then now they have all this new evidence too. So what's happening now is the TikTok movement, right? Everyone's like, "What's up?" The Menendez brothers didn't get a fair trial, especially that second one. They couldn't even talk about the abuse. Like they were just now they've been in prison over 35 years. They're in their 50s. Oh, he stinks. Okay, they're in their 50s.
He farted?
Yes.
Hey, buddy.
It's awful. So everyone on TikTok went crazy, and obviously that shit can go viral quick.
Yeah, apparently they're looking back a lot of like it's a new thing.
They
They're
started
looking back
digging
at old
into it.
trials and stuff, like the John Rene Ramsey things, the new story or whatever.
Yeah.
So the question now is, because like from what you've said, from what they
I was about to tell you about the DA.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the TikTok trial happened. One of the what is that band that his father? He was
Menudo.
Menudo. Jose Menendez ran RCA Records. He was the president. Menudo. Is that it?
Menudo.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Menudo.
Okay. That guy comes forward now and says Jose raped him when he was 13 years old.
Okay.
In a hotel in New York City. He was bleeding. Happened to him twice.
Right.
He didn't come forward earlier. He was ashamed, like all the other boys that have gotten molested.
So if he had done that during the first trial,
yeah,
that likely convinces at least a couple of the men, and then they get manslaughter.
Yeah, but a lot of the family came out too. Like the cousin who said when they were little that Lyle came downstairs and said, "Did your parents touch you down there? Like, Dad does that to me." And she said she just stared at him because she had no idea what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. And she told Kitty and she wouldn't do anything, the mother. Yeah. So there were stories and there were people who could, what is the word? Corroborate their stories. Yeah. Right?
So where are we at now? They're in their 50s, right?
They're in their 50s. They're like model citizens in prison. They help everybody else out in prison, it seems like, especially if people were molested. And the DA had a choice to make. He had a choice. Do we look into this and give them another shot? Yes or no? It's gone on for months and months. And I was at my mom's when this happened. And my brother's like, run in here, see if your boys are going to get out of prison. And I come in and the DA says, yes, we're going to look into it.
I'll tell you what, we watched like the dramatized version, which was 9 episodes on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then after that, we watched like their perspective, not with video, but audio.
And them as adults.
Of adults.
Yeah.
Talking about, back then and now. And I will say that they did seem credible now of being like reformed, if you will.
Their stories never changed.
Yeah. Another sidebar about this whole thing too was like how it messed with Eric's head. Okay.
This makes me sad.
This one's really sad because
I'd like to know what you guys think of this.
This is really bizarre. And like, how do you know? Like, so you are doing stuff with your dad, right? You get erections.
And that made him really sad that
you do,
yes,
not just gay stuff, but incest stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you grow up and you wonder, what
gay?
am I?
Yeah.
Right. And there's like no way to know what he would have been, which is like, obviously, I think when it comes to homosexuality, that's, you're born with it, but also there's nurture
different.
and nature, right?
Yes.
So like, this is a kid who maybe had this never happened to him, would have never even considered, the idea.
This is a powerful scene. If you guys watch it, it's a really powerful scene where he's just talking about how to his attorney and he's crying and he says like, how would I know? How would I ever know what I am?
Oh, that scene was like, honestly, I'll say this, the show, one of the best jobs of acting of any show I've ever seen. Javier Bardem.
All of them.
As the father. Javier Bardem is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And the kid who played Eric Menendez, he did a scene that I couldn't believe it as I was watching it. It was an entire episode.
It was
30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was as simple as this. It was a camera shot with
on
no
his
cutaways.
Face while he's crying, talking to his attorney.
He did 30 minutes of script without cuts, unless they edited really, really well.
There's just no way. I mean, it seems
and the emotion, and he was on it. It was like, I was really impressed with the acting. And then when you watch who the real people were, like the defense attorney, I mean, they nailed her.
They did a great job. But like you were saying, you wouldn't know your sexuality because he said it caused him so much shame that he could orgasm with his father.
Yeah.
And then he started dating a boy when he was younger because he thought that's normal, right? And he said, but he liked it. And he's like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
So is Eric gay?
Well, I don't know.
Because I don't remember now.
The story, but when this first came up, you sort of told me you sent me a link to a story about Lyle, who's got a girlfriend, which I want to get into both these things. Uh-huh. Lyle, who has a girlfriend on the outside, which I want to get into, but also has a guy named Chino, which is his man or his bitch or
that's what they
one
say.
of the two things,
but
right?
That's what happens in prison.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So basically, like when it comes to sexuality in general, you think of the old Greek times, you think of the Spartans, you think of this, like in normal society, like Lyle probably never had any sort of gay inclinations, but like, what is it with like, do you think people that go to jail and they're there for long periods of time actually go a little gay?
Yeah.
Or is it just like what happens in jail stays in jail?
No, I know a person who did that.
Just, what?
I know a person from back home who did that. He actually told my mom. He said, I'm not gay, but in jail, I'm in prison, you kind of have to be. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, if you're like a horny guy, he was in his 20s. He's like, I was with men.
So you could still get it up and do all the things.
I think after a while, maybe not at first, but after a while.
Or you get the ones that look femme or something like that.
Or maybe you're the femme.
Or you're the bottom.
I don't know, but it happens all the time. I mean, the jail stories. I mean,
yeah.
So do you think that like you could go to prison and end up just being into men?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I would never, it never dawns on me to go down that path or think of something like that.
Yeah.
But I haven't been in jail for 20 years of my life. And who knows, like
what are
physical
you gonna
touch,
do?
like no physical touch at all for anybody could probably be real tough. But the other thing I wanted to bring up too, in addition to that was, this always amazes me. Like, and maybe you understand it because you have your psych degree. Women who end up falling in love or becoming married to serial killers or people in jail.
Yeah.
What's that about?
There's a fetish. There's a thing.
What does it come from? No daddy issues?
I don't know where that one specifically comes from. The one where they love serial killers. But it's a thing. And I don't know the percentage.
They love the danger. They love or they want to see the good.
No, most of the time they love the that they have become famous. They like that. They like it.
Part of that.
Mm-hmm, that they're famous for doing this thing. And somehow these women find that attractive or like tough or like, wouldn't you be so fucking scared if he got out?
When you talk about the famous thing, it reminds me of, we talked about this in bed the other night, the story of that girl, the young girl who convinced her boyfriend to kill himself and he's like in the car with the gas running to kill himself. And he gets out of the car and she's like, texts him back, get back in that car.
Get back in the
right?
truck. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, so she did this in big part.
For months.
She did this because she wanted to be cool. She wanted to be well liked by the other people. And she
wanted sympathy.
Right. So she wanted her boyfriend to commit suicide so she could like, that just shows you how twisted the brain is, especially when it comes to like wanting to fit in, wanting to be liked, and just fame in general.
I think they were both really depressed too. I think she was too. She was on antidepressants. Then they tried to blame the antidepressants for her like.
So what in that case, she was charged, right?
She was charged. She went to prison.
That's a good
She's
one
out now.
We talked about this, but I want to go over it because it's interesting to me. Like, what's the line, right?
Yeah, you kept asking me this line.
Well, what's because I always ask for a line because I'm a logical guy. I want to know what the day. So, for example, if I said to some guy in the street, I said, fuck off, go kill yourself, right?
Okay, whatever.
If he does it, right?
No.
Am I liable in any way?
No.
I don't think so, right? Now, take it to the extreme what she did.
I think I've said that before.
Constantly telling this guy how to do it and all this sort of thing.
Yeah, they
right?
planned it.
Huh?
They planned it.
Yeah, but she was coercing him into doing this and all this sort of stuff. So there's the simple one, which is obviously this is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it seems to me that like what she did is not okay.
It's not. So you're saying the line is like, if she did that for a week, say for a week, she told him to kill himself and they talked about how to do it. Is that not as bad? But they did it for like almost a year or something.
Yeah.
Where she told him like, yeah, you got to do it. You should just do it.
Where's that? I see again.
Like, where's
I don't know,
the line?
Like, what's the line for everybody? And I guess it's case by case. But in addition to that, I wonder, like, should it even matter? Because this is the thing. Like, if you murder somebody or you attempt to murder, like if I try to shoot somebody in the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I shoot and kill them, I murdered them, right?
Yeah.
If I shoot them and I hit their arm and they survived, my intention was to kill them. So what's the damn difference if they lived or not? Like, why is the penalty different?
I don't know, but is it you're using a gun, she's using speech?
With the intention. But that's what I'm saying though with her. She's trying with every bit of her might to have this guy kill himself, right? Whether he succeeded or whether he did, what should that have any bearing on her sentence?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
It sort of happens in hockey too. Okay.
Whoa,
like,
hockey.
I know. Well, hey, it's a thing. In hockey, sometimes, let's say, for example, you commit a foul, like Ryan Reeves knocks a guy into the boards, right? So often what they do as a punishment is it depends how severe the injury ended up being, right? So it's not about the act as much, right? So let's say he cross-checks the guy. Well, if the guy was fine, maybe he gets a 1-game suspension. But if the guy broke his neck or something like that, maybe you get like 20 games or something like that.
Well, shit, what do you don't mean to break someone's
neck?
No,
I know. Like I'm saying the act is the same, which is where when it comes to like legalese, if you will, I have a logical problem with all that. Like in terms of, eye for an eye or this idea that, whether the person died or what has any effect on what your penalty should be. I
know you actually think in very black and white ways with like, there needs to be a line, a law. This is it. This is the number. This is it. You think that way. I always feel like, there can be,
I think
so many different stories.
So obviously I agree with you that like, you have to look at all these things with a case by case basis.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you are going to, put somebody in prison or put them in capital punishment, right?
Yeah.
You need to have as far as I'm concerned, very clear, definable rules on what is okay and what is not.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, you leave it up to chance, not chance per se, but you leave it up to like a shifty prosecutor. You leave it up to a jury where it should be, I like rules, and that's why I'm a stickler in poker
you're
too.
You're a rule guy.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know. Here's what's weird about it. What was I going to say? Christian fucked me up by leaving. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but you're just so about rules that like you can never, like, you do this with me sometimes. You always ask me the questions. Like say, we're not going to get into it like abortion or whatever. What is the line? What is the line? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it just depends on what happened.
Right. And I think from a legislative perspective, if I'm the one in charge, because I've done this, like, stupid, but I run a hockey pool. I make rules, but like, for me, I like to always think about what is the most fair thing, right?
Yeah.
So what is and what can I morally stand behind and say, all right, let's make the law X or let's make the law Y, which actually brings us up to kind of a last sort of topic I wanted to discuss, unless you had more on the Menendez
one more thing.
Yeah,
I want to ask you. If you were on that jury for the Menendez trial, and it's supposed to be within a shadow of a doubt. If you have a doubt then you can't put them away, or even definitely put them to death. But you can't put them away for the rest of their lives. Would there be a doubt for you in that trial?
So in the first trial and the second trial, there's two different questions, right? The first trial is first degree murder or manslaughter. The second one is, life in prison with no parole versus free, right? I don't think free based on the second trial and the information that they had. The first trial, I think they make a very compelling case with the family relatives and the corroboration that it should have been a manslaughter charge.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think they did him right in that regard.
Yeah. I think the women, I was really proud that they hung in there and was like, nope, we're not going to do this. Like, I know it sucks how it turned out, but they could have just like rolled with the men. Right.
Yeah. Because what is that? Like a machismo thing? Like men are like, you can't rape a boy. I'm like, it's a 5-year-old.
Yeah,
like,
but they said they couldn't rape Eric as like he was 17 when he was still being raped.
Oh, because they thought he was a man by then. And but see, it's a real thing. I know this again.
Psychological.
I'm going to use hockey, and I'm not going to name them because whatever, but there are men who were in the NHL who at ages 14, 15, their coaches or their assistant coaches were molesting them. But they were told, if you tell anyone, I'm going to kick you off the team. You're not going to be a star.
And that's
You're not
their livelihood.
And it's like, and then it messes their head up really, really bad. And so this idea that, it couldn't happen to a boy, you don't know. Like, look at the whole Diddy shit, right?
I know. When people are very powerful.
Look at these, like, I don't want to, we'll not name names, but like there's some people in Hollywood that likely
knew about it.
Got freaking, they got, what do you call it? Raped by Diddy.
Yes.
Just to get like somewhere in their life. It's like selling your soul, like a contract. And
some of them didn't want to be raped. Some of them didn't.
Some of them didn't want. Who wanted to be raped?
No, I mean, some of them weren't like there being like, oh, let's do this for a deal. They were getting raped.
But then once they were,
consent.
They didn't go, let me file a police report.
No, because he had so much power.
That's what I'm saying.
And like with Jose Menendez.
Yes.
He was so powerful.
This is where like when they were saying, and I remember their jury trial, we're talking about like, well, why didn't you guys just go to the police? Because first of all, they didn't think they'd be believed. The mother was standing by the husband, right? He's a super powerful guy.
In Hollywood, everyone knew him.
Hollywood executive, on RCA Records, all this kind of stuff.
The head of RCA.
They figured that if he did that, and you know what? According to the, to the documentary or to the show, he said, if you tell anyone what's going to happen, I'll kill you. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, they think, okay, if we go to the cops, nothing's going to happen. We're going to end up dead, right?
Yeah.
They're going to kill us, so we're going to kill them.
We got to take it into our own hands.
Right.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that. Speaking of into your own hands, the thing,
into your own hands.
Well, yeah, your life is recently, last few weeks, the UK ruled on a very controversial topic that there's different rules in different countries or whatever about assisted suicide.
Assisted suicide. This is a sensitive subject for people, isn't it? It isn't for me in certain ways.
Okay, how?
Okay, so I think for people who've never like felt pain or been sick, I think it's hard for them. But I feel like it's your fucking body. And if I have cancer and I'm dying, we know I'm going to die. There's no miracle happening. I'm like stage 4 cancer. I'm dying. I have 6 months to live. I'm in a lot of pain. I would rather go peacefully with my family around me. I should be able to die. That's what I think.
Okay.
You?
Well, I'll answer that, but I'm going to ask you a question you do not want to hear.
Okay.
What is your line?
Oh,
like
God.
what I mean is, okay, so obviously you're talking about people that are terminally ill.
Terminally ill is what
that they're like,
about.
They got no hope or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But, playing devil's advocate, like you hear of one woman, for example, that she was against it. She said she had cancer, terminal cancer. Mm-hmm. And she was told she was going to die. And she went into remission and she's fine. And she said, if this law was available to me, I wouldn't be here today. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I bring up the question of like, what's your line? Because if you extend it.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to go off one miracle woman.
When you talk, I understood. But like, so for you, obviously, people with terminal illness. But what about those that, just want to die and they want help? They say, listen, I'm 22. I have mental health issues. I don't want to be here. I'm going to kill myself anyway. Right.
I guess you got to let them kill themselves because you can't help them die if they don't have anything, if they could possibly be rehabilitated.
And here's the issue with that when it comes to mental illness.
But I do think people should be able to kill themselves if they want. Like if I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah. But the thing was, the reason the mental illness thing came up in the discussion was one of the psychologists said the issue with it is you cannot prove whether or not somebody has no path to recovery.
Not with mental illness, you can't.
No.
You
Like,
can't.
because there's always something that could,
Right.
be sparked. Like,
because they brought this up in Canada.
yeah, medications or ayahuasca or who the hell knows.
Or lots of things,
What
right?
was the deal in Canada exactly?
In Canada, they I don't know what the group is called in Canada, but the mental health, whatever. They brought up having assisted suicide for patients who just literally couldn't get well. And it'd been like 20 years or more of deep depressions, and they've tried everything. They've gone through everything. They were so miserable that they said, I will kill myself. Like, I'm going to. Can I do it peacefully with my family around and you help me? Or do I have to do it myself, basically?
Such a slippery slope. Maybe maybe I would be bent. My arm would be bent if it's like, can you provide me with the
comfort?
Not even the comfort. Can you
like,
provide me with the method, like with the need, just give it to me.
It's just a medication, yeah.
Like, give me the, what is it? What do they use?
I don't know. There's like 4 different meds.
Okay. So it's like an injection
it's a
or something
cocktail
like
of
that.
meds.
Right. So like, I wouldn't feel comfortable with, government funded taxpayer. We pay for this girl to like have our people do it. Like, but provide them with the chance to buy this
You
stuff.
care about who pays for it?
No, I'm not. I mean,
like,
obviously not really. I'm just saying like, because I'm talking about regulation, right? Like, should we be like, should this be like a law?
No,
like
that's why in Canada they brought this up and people fucking went nuts. Like, no fucking way are we doing this like to mentally ill people, right? Because I agree with them. Like, sometimes you're not in the right mindset.
Yeah, like what happens if people were like, I'm depressed for a month.
Listen,
and now I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore.
I've been there.
Yeah. And if you had access to that, you might have.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I do agree with Canada that they were like, we have to like take a step back with this. So they're waiting until 2027 to look at it again, which I still think, I mean, what's going to change by then?
Well, that's the thing. And we were talking about the science behind it. And again, like this is where I come from is how are you ever going to know when somebody is at that point?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it takes people longer than others to get out of depression or to feel better or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any terminal illness, your life just sucks.
So
like,
physically, terminally ill, we agree you should be able to die.
Of course.
Okay.
It's cruel. Like
I agree. It's so cruel.
I will say this. This was a tough moment for me and my brother because my mom, the last 8 months of her life, she had a stroke when they were doing surgery on her to see if they could fix some blood clotting stuff. Yeah. And during the surgery, she had a stroke. Mm-hmm. And then, from that point, she never spoke another word. She's paralyzed on one side of her body. Like life, they didn't look like there was much of a prognosis. So for about 8 months, my brother went to the hospital every single day. Yeah. He was there with a newspaper. He'd talk to my mother. He would, and she couldn't talk, right? And I was living here and I remember visiting. And I remember like one of the saddest moments was like when I went to visit her, she appeared a little more alert. Like her eyes were moving, Yeah. And she saw that I had a bottle of water.
Oh, I hate this.
Okay?
Oh.
And I was like drinking my water and she went like this because she wasn't allowed to have any water. She hadn't had water for 8 months.
No, you would aspirate.
Because her mouth was, you could put like, they said you could take, she would choke if she drank water.
Aspirate, yes.
Yeah. So we could take like a Q-tip and just touch her mouth.
You could dab
but
it
just
to
like,
get wet.
it was so brutal emotionally to like, your mother is asking you for water.
And you can't.
And she's on her deathbed and you can't give it to her.
No.
That was brutal. But then I remember, there was talk like with the nurses about she's ready to move out of here.
I remember this too.
Yeah. She's ready to move out of here and then start rehabilitation or whatever, right? Wow. But I remember her doing this one thing. She couldn't talk with her, but she went like, I want to go up.
Pointed up.
I want to go. I'm done, And what's interesting about, and this is a fact with people when they die, my brother does this one yearly trip where he goes to New York and watches the New York Giants play, and he does it with his buddies and it goes for like 3 days, right? Mm. So he was there. I was flying in to go see my mom while he was there and I was going to go see her the next day.
I remember this like it was yesterday.
Yeah. And overnight, while my brother was gone and I wasn't there yet, she finally had the freedom and peace to say, I can go.
Yeah.
Because I think
she was holding on for you.
She's holding on for my brother and for me.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So like when we do this, when we do our trust and we do our will, we have to ask like these questions like, what do you want?
You know what I want.
Gone. Like I'm like, if there's no hope.
If there's no hope, I don't want to be on a machine.
No, that's not a life. Mm-mm. And that's the thing. Like as we've progressed as a society, we live longer, but do we? Like, what is it like? What does that life look like for a lot of these people? So is it really life when you're, bedridden? And a side note about
guess
that.
it just depends if you can get better or not, right?
Yeah. A side note on that too, though, I wanted to say is like a lot of people who chase money in this life, right? Because they want to be rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you are 70 and you're unhealthy or you're sick, you're dying, and partly it was because of the way you lived, because all you cared about was money or whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter at all in those moments. Like,
of course.
What good is the money if you can't enjoy it later in life because you're physically out of shape? Like, I never understood, or I can't relate to people that have reached financial freedom and wealth that don't think to themselves, you know what? I got a great life. Let's extend it.
Yeah.
Why don't I try? Listen, you can still have fun, go have some drinks, but like try to, be healthy.
Well, it depends on what you want to do.
I think like if you're poor and you just have to work, you have no choice. Like you do what you got to do.
Because some people like that, live fast, die hard. Like, let's have as much fun as possible. Fuck it. Woo!
Like rockers and stuff like that.
Go
like,
out.
Which is why, how the hell do Keith Richards and freaking
I know.
Mick Jagger go into their 80s? How badass is that?
It's crazy.
He's like 81 and but he works out, he stays in shape. Keith just, I don't know how he's still around.
There's that meme out there that they talk about like they always say like crack kills.
Yeah.
Well, why is that same fucking crackhead always on the corner for years? He's never gone. Think about that. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Back home, there's these ones that have been around forever. My mom gives him money. He's been around forever. My uncle, he's one of them. He never dies. And he's like on the hardest drugs and he's fucked up all day, every day. It's like, isn't it crazy how people like that can just hang on?
Well, there's always those stories, right? Of people who are like, well, you know what? I lived to 110, smoking 3 packs of cigarettes, drinking a bottle of booze, and eating McDonald's and fries. Yeah. Look at Trump. Okay.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, before he won, 76 hours, he was awake. Before, during that period, he was doing shows, 3 hours this, 3 hours that. He's on the KFC insane. McDonald's diet. Like, there's that funny picture, if you want to put it up, of RFK, who RFK, he wants to be
disgusted, right?
He's like 70, he works out, he wants to be, and they take this picture, he's got to eat like McDonald's. He's like, what is this shit?
I can't believe I'm doing this, is what he's thinking. He's on that plane and they're all excited, and he's like, how bad he talks about this food. Yeah. He has to eat it right now.
When he would go, this is just like, I don't know if you consider it's offensive or not. Like, everyone has different diets, but he'd go to Japan, right? And in Japan, they have high-end, fancy schmancy sushi and you know what I mean?
He's eating some weird shit.
But no. Trump was they made for him because they knew he wouldn't eat any of that shit.
Okay.
No, Trump, he wouldn't eat any of that shit. He ate bear.
He ate roadkill.
Yeah.
I think he ate roadkill.
Yeah, which put a worm in his brain. But Trump, they had to make him just an American cheeseburger with fries because he wouldn't eat the fucking sushi rolls.
Whatever he likes.
I get it. But what's interesting about that is the genes, because he doesn't work out, right? He doesn't eat well.
Tell the people why he doesn't work out, because a personal story. God. Can you tell them really? Because it's really funny.
Well, personal. I don't know.
Well, because someone told you about it. The energy thing. You're only born with so much energy.
Oh, yeah. You're only born with so much energy. And that or also things everyone I know works out. They have to get hip replacements.
Yeah,
and
but
knees
the energy's funny. You're only born with a certain amount of energy in your life. So working out gets rid of a lot of that energy. So you're going to die sooner if you work out. He's like, that's why I'm so healthy, because I keep all my energy. I don't work out.
Yeah. But that's the thing. There's always anomalies, right?
It's insane, but I kind of be like, what if that's real?
It's bullshit. No, because it's simply when you play the numbers, you realize there's going to be outliers and anomalies with that, right? It's totally off topic, but just thinking of that, I was reading Malcolm Gladwell's book, Revenge of the Tipping Point. I love his books.
Mm-hmm.
I read them all the time. And he was talking about COVID, and he was talking about super spreaders. And he sort of explained the math behind different human beings are far more contagious than others. So you could have COVID, I could have COVID, but you could infect the entire room where I wouldn't infect anybody based on the particle spread and all that sort of thing. So it's when it comes to diet and it comes to our genes and it comes to all these things, all you can really do to give yourself the best chance, I think, is to play the odds.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean you should just be the one who smokes 4 packs of cigarettes, eats KFC and McDonald's. That works out for him, but
unless
who else?
That's what you want to do.
Sure,
here's the thing that I have. The difference for me is I think people should do what they want to do.
I agree.
If that's what you want to do,
I agree that they should be able to. But I think about myself, right? And I think if I was say for myself, I'm why would I not want to have when I'm 70, the best years of my life that I can, right? And knowing now that I can prevent some of the negative stuff by avoiding some of the things that I don't necessarily need.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I do that? Because I'm, we talked about this before. I'm a think ahead kind of person.
Right.
You're more like
I think it
live
now
fast,
kind of
die
person.
young. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
again, this is where I feel bad for people that are, say, below the median or, in the poverty line. They don't have an option to be
Yeah.
healthy. They don't.
I know.
They can't. Because you know what? They can, here's the thing. They can go to Taco Bell, feed a family of 4, right?
Yeah.
Or they can buy 1 head of broccoli for the same price.
Yeah.
What choice do they have? One is higher in calories, one feeds them. It's obviously not good stuff, but you don't have really a choice,
I know. And I feel bad because you have to think about the people who have a lot of kids. Maybe it's a single mother.
Yeah.
Right. And she works a job or sometimes 2. My mom worked 2 a lot of the
Yeah.
time. You don't have much time at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. You get home, you have to feed your kids really quickly. And it's time for bed and do it all over again.
I have empathy for people that live like that can't really afford to be healthy or think about that because
Yeah.
they got to work 2 jobs. They got to take care of their family. I'm like, listen, you do what you got to do. Look at the snacks we have with the Amazon drivers.
I like those snacks too.
They're great, but they ain't, we don't give them the kale chips because they don't eat, they don't take that. We tried. If I put a couple fucking healthy things in there, I don't want
that either.
They don't want we had the fucking pretzel. They don't want none of this.
No, they didn't want fucking carrot sticks. Who wants that when you're trying to drive around? I mean, are you serious right now? If there's a choice, it's cheese puffs or carrot sticks.
And like I said, for those people, okay, and this is me being judgmental again, but I sort of give them what's with you and him farting? He's passed out.
Holy shit.
This you. She see this. Whoever fucking smelt it, dealt it. Okay?
It's never true.
I smell nothing,
disgusting.
by the way. I smell nothing.
Ugh.
But what the hell was I? Oh, I smell it now.
He's been doing this for days.
Oh.
Remember I said, give him something for gas. You're like, you want to give him a pill for everything.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm like, no, he needs something. Something's wrong with his stomach.
Fine, man. He's
disgusting.
He had a little extra food. He got to go to the bathroom a little bit. He's got to go for his second poop. He hasn't done that yet after he passed. But what the hell was I saying before you told me about the fucking farting and shit like that? All right. I guess that's going to be it.
See you next week.
We'll end on Rocky's farts.